The Hell of Kaisone Fambehain. Hello everybody. Today I will tell you about the story of Kaisone's Hell. It is very sad and very emotional events. Some of you may be very angry on these events or him. The communists killed the people of Indochina in different ways. In each country, it was a different way. In Vietnam, they drove them out onto the sea and they died there. In Cambodia, it was the killing fields. And in Laos, they kept them confined in small areas with no food and hard labor in order to let them die little by little. They worked people to death in order to escape being directly labeled killers. The goal of communists was to destroy the people and make them become very poor so that they would have no option but to obey orders to follow the government, so they would be easy to command. They made the rich poor and the poor even poorer. In a communist country, there is no kind of freedom, and the people are very sad just working all day. In 1975, when the communists took over Laos, they collected together all the military officers and sent them to re-education camps, which they called seminar camps. They were like concentration camps. I was sent to the Sep1 camp in Savanakhet province with 180 senior officers. I was a major. In this camp, we were fed only a little rice and salt for 3 months. We had to work very hard every day. I had to dig the ground, chop wood, and build the camp. I had to get wood from the forest about 16 kilometers away and carry it on my back to the camp. I also had to carry the rich supplies to the camp from about 30 kilometers away on my back. Then we were told we had to be self-sufficient. There was to be no more rice. We had to grow vegetables in order to feed ourselves. Soon everybody seemed like a living skeleton, not like I am now. Many people died. There were many of these camps all over Laos. The Pathet Lao or Neo Lao Huk Zath officers in charge of them illiterate and ignorant. They could only see one way, not to the right side nor to the left, as though they wore blinkers like a horse. They were commanded by the Vietnam, who were their advisors. Vietnam troops surrounded the camps to protect them. They did not serve as guards inside the camps, but if something's happened in the camp, the Vietnamese troops would help the Pathet Lao or Lao Huk Zath. They would arrest and kill the people. Then people in the outside world started hearing bad things about the seminar camps. The resistance was very powerful then, and Amnesty International in London was making demands that they release the people, but the communists didn't want to, so they came up with an idea. Seminars sound like a jail, but like commune sounds like something good, so they changed the name from seminar camp to communes. Under Secretary of State for Foreign Affairs Kamphe Buffa said in the United Nations that Laos didn't have seminars anymore. And it sounded good, pretty good to them. So they believed it. But the communes were really seminar camps. Only the words were different. The system of working, the system of living was the same. Medical care, inhumanity, no kind of freedom. It was all the bluff to placate the internationals. The resistance fighter didn't believe. They knew that the Tsang Lako, in the sub-province of Sep1, it is in a stream in a depression between two hills in a heavily forested area. Father Mun and Father Ma Louis of Lako village and a Soimun Aban Ka Louis know the place of the wreck and can lead you to it. The Wilco camp was right on the border of Savanakhet province and Vietnam, and sometimes when we were out working, we would meet men from the mountains. In 1982, I met a mountain man who told me that there were Americans in the U.S. in Dong Ha, a town in Bai Nishan province, which is about the middle of Vietnam. He gave me 3 names. Altogether, I was in seminar camp for 8 years from 1975 to late 1983. 3 years I was in Sep1, 1 year in Tong Luong, and 4 years in Wilco. During most of this time in the camp, my wife and 2 of my children were with me. I was alone at first, but in 1977, when I was in Sep1, my wife made a request to visit me. The political bureau gave her permission to come, and then they made her stay. Most of the people in my camp had their families with them. The communist tactic was this. They spread propaganda to the families who want to go visit their husbands and father in the camp. Then they gave the permission to 1 or 2 women to come and see their husbands. They let them go again, and these women added to the propaganda by spreading the word that it was okay to visit the camp. Then the second time, many people, maybe 50 or 60 went. They let them go again, and again they spread the word that it was okay. Then the third time, these people collected most of the families, and the communists let them come again. But when these people tried to leave, they stood together and stopped them from going out of the camp again. It was not the same in all camps, but in ours, that is what they did, and that is how I came to have my wife and 2 children with me. The women had to be equal to the men. They had to work as men shop would carry on their backs and build the camp. My wife and I were both forced to dig the earth and plant potatoes cassava. It was hard work, even for a man. For the children, it was the same. When my children came to see me in the camp, the oldest was 9 years and the other one was 8. They were just little children, but there was no study for them. They had to work carrying wood on their backs like everyone else. Now, east of Savannakhet, straddling the Say-Thamik River on both sides of Route 9, is Soviet Command Post 923. Here they have about 180 Soviets, Czechs, and Hungarians. They pass themselves off as technicians, but in reality they're soldiers. They're supervising the widening and improvement of the road to make it into a strategic route so that aircraft can use it as a runway. They started in 1975 using Lao manpower. The work is still not finished. In that camp, there is a hospital, and when my wife became very sick with a uterine infection, I asked for her to go there. She was sent, but that hospital didn't have any kind of medicine, and there were no Soviet doctors to treat her, only Lao nurses. So one day, she went quietly out of hospital and escaped to Savannakhet City. She arrived angry and distressed, determined to try to get me freed. She wanted to go to the top, so she went to the house of Modak, the mother of Communist Prime Minister Kaisone, and asked her to speak to her son about freeing me. Modak agreed to do this, but when my wife returned to her house with the wives of some other seminarists, they were told that their husbands were lucky not to have been executed, as this had been the original plan for us. This was borne out by what I myself was told by the communist head of Sep 1 camp, Thong Luan Laungvisa. He told me that before the Treaty of Vientiane, the Vientiane Agreement, a tripartite agreement signed by the National Coalition Government on February 21, 1973, has been ignored. What the communists say and what they do are quite contrary. For instance, the Vientiane Agreement guaranteed the promotion of peace, national independence, neutrality, and non-alignment. But many more Lao people die now than during wartime. Where's the peace? More than 70,000 Vietnamese troops occupy Laos, and the government officials fraternize openly with them. Where's the independence? In 1977, the communist government in Vientiane signed a 25-year military pact with the Soviet Union and Vietnam. Where's the neutrality and non-alignment? The Vientiane Agreement made a commitment to social progress, to the encouragement and development of interrelations among all the Lao people, all ethnic groups, all classes of society. But the government actually promotes disunity. Under the Marxist/Leninist New Way, which the communists claim is a period of transition to a full-fledged communist state, the traditional system of village life has been altered. People are forced to relocate against their wills. Work groups of 3 families each have been formed. These families are forced to live in close proximity and, to most things, communally. They are encouraged to spy on each other and report any infraction in word or deed to the communist officials. Every Friday, the families meet, sit in a circle, and recite in turn a litany of self-criticism dealing with transgressions like bourgeois food and so on. Any deviation from the rules puts one at risk of being denounced as a reactionary and severely punished. Travel is strictly controlled. Permission must be obtained to go anywhere. And a person from one family must always be accompanied by people from the other 2 families or risk punishment. This is not just for travel, but even for simply walking in the fields. It is not like this in Vientiane because the diplomatic corps is there and the communists want to deceive them about the true state of the country. Communist bloc countries are the only one allowed to travel in the countryside. The rest they allow to move only short distances outside Vientiane. The Vientiane Agreement guarantees economic equality and the promotion of prosperity. What they gave us is state economic planning. The economy is controlled and managed by the Politburo. Trade is not free. The movement of goods is severely limited. The country lives under a system of rationing. The Vientiane Agreement guaranteed political and socio-cultural equality. What they did was suppress and root out all classes of society. They completely changed our way of life. They suppressed all our ancient customs. They suppressed our religions. The doctrines of Marx and Lenin have taken the place of the Old and New Testaments and the Buddhist precepts. The new equality, rather than fostering unity, has bred suspicion and contempt. Such ingrained Lao traditions as showing respect to the elderly have broken down. People are isolated from each other. The country is divided and the Politburo is corrupt. While the people are starving, they live in big houses with televisions. They drive modern American cars. They wear European clothes. Their wives wear expensive jewelry. They drink vodka. Kaizen is reputed to be very fond of Johnny Walker whiskey. The wives of Newhack and Kaizen traffic in Laotian gold with Vietnam. The Vientiane Agreement guarantees such basic right as freedom of speech, freedom of press, and freedom of assembly. But in the fact, speech and the press are strictly controlled. Ordinary Lao citizens cannot even use cameras publicly. And as for freedom of assembly, a gathering of 2 or 3 people is enough to attract official attention. Then there are demands for IDs and motives for the meeting. Even freedom of thought is curtailed. In self-criticism sessions, people are expected to reveal and critique the innermost workings of their minds.